Patrick is up early. He's grinding at the Star Tribune, so we've got him via phone here this morning. We got to talk about Wolves and LeBron, Pat, but I was just doing some digging for the Purple Props edition of Purple Daily. The Vikings at Soldier Field are 4-16 this century and 5-15 against the spread, and they've been beaten by quarterbacks like Mitch Trubisky and Chase Daniel. So what kind of chance do you give the Vikings, even though they are almost a touchdown favorite on Monday?
And the Bears, we don't even know how many of those mediocre Bears are going to play. What do they got? 7 guys not playing already, so they got half their teams got COVID. This would be a very impressive loss if they could figure out a way to lose to them. Boy, you named 2 of the better quarterbacks to ever defeat them. Though there's a whole litany of anonymous guys who might have won 5 games total in their NFL careers who have beaten them. They have had incredibly lousy performances, but I just don't see that happening. I think the Bears are pretty much no Nagy's gone. They don't have a lot of their players. They're probably more worried about COVID than they are winning the game. But who knows if they to me, the first sign was when Khalil Mack a month ago decided to have surgery instead of stick around for the death march to the finish for that team. And when that starts happening, teams have pretty well given up. So I can't see them losing, but you go down there and turn it over a couple of times, who knows?
Yeah, I forgot about the Jim Miller game on September 8th, 2002, a 27-23 come-from-behind victory over Dante Culpepper and company.
Yes, but there's, what's the name of the one guy that, he was a younger quarterback that
there's a Hutchinson in there somewhere?
Chad Hutchinson.
Chad Hutchinson.
I don't think he started 10 games in the league. I would be very shocked if he did. He was kind of a big-arm guy that was, not really a qualified football player, but they lost that one. When was Chad defeated?
I don't know. I'm sifting through the Rex Grossman era here. I'm trying to find the Chad. Oh, there it is. There it is. December 5th. Wow, look at this. It's almost 17 years to the day here. December 5th, 2004. It was a 24-14 win by the Bears, and Chad Hutchinson went 18 for 30, 213 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions.
And that was Culpepper's great year, too. That's when Culpepper could have been the MVP of the league. And they still managed to only score 14 points in Soldier Field and get beat by Chad Hutchinson. So, yes, there's no doubt that they have had more ignominious defeats in Chicago than any other place, because the Bears really haven't been that good in this whole century. So, yes, but I still think this would be a noble defeat, don't you, with the Bears having all the problems they have, and I think they're like out of running backs, and it's a mess down there. It'd be hard to lose, but you know what? I was flipping channels last night during the local news, trying to get a sportscast, and I saw an interview with Kirk, and one of those happy gee whiz, golly gee interviews of his. Oh, he just makes my skin crawl when he's doing those things. I can't stand that. The gee whiz Kirk guy, drives me nuts.
How did you feel when they lose to the Lions and Kirk Cousins? I can't remember if we talked about this, but he's going around shaking hands and congratulating all the Lions players and giving them half hugs. Or would you rather have seen the Tom Brady first of all, Brady doesn't lose that game, but the Brady exit into the tunnel? Would you rather have seen that?
Well, Tommy Kramer ripped him on Twitter, and so did I. So that was a tie there. That drove me crazy. The Lions couldn't get away from him. They were trying to celebrate themselves. They couldn't get away from Kirk. Happy Kirk, the loser. Yeah, that one drove me nuts. But his gee whiz interviews just, Kirk, come on, you're an adult. You're 35 years old. act like an adult.
I think it's funny that he's starting to clap back at the media now too in these press conferences. Like he likes to pick on Chris Thomason from the Pioneer Press, but
yes.
I think Thomason asked him whatever. I think it was after the Lions loss. Did you feel like you guys need to win out in order to make the playoffs? And he just claps back. Well, what do you think? You've done the math. What do you think? And I don't know. He's got a weird personality.
Yeah. Oh, I love Thomason, though, because he disturbs them all. He'll say anything, man. He'll throw a hand grenade right in the middle of an interview. I love it. He's a beauty. He's causes probably a lot of interviews to come to an end there, and he drives them crazy by all accounts. But that's good. Every team needs one of those guys, don't you think, to stir them up a little bit?
Yes, they totally do. Pat, we Phil and Judd and ourselves caught quite the fire with the idea that if Pete Carroll could be the next head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Carroll obviously 70 years old. If the Vikes moved on from Zim and the Seahawks moved on for Pete Carroll, what would be your gut reaction if the Vikings made Pete Carroll their next head coach?
My gut reaction would be, and I got a lot of gut here to have a reaction with. My gut reaction would be no chance it's happening. Pete is done. It's a 40-year-old guy. The P.J. Fleck has a better chance to be the next Viking coach than Pete Carroll. Yeah. I would say somebody of that ilk would be their next coach. It could be a 40-year-old guy, maybe not an over-the-top college coach. I think Urban Meyer might have ended the college coaches hiring for a long time, but I can't see it happening. But Sid would rise from the grave to come back and cover that because, of course, when Denny got fired, Sid interrupted the press conference to scream at Roger Hedrick for not hiring Pete Carroll as Denny sat there as the second African-American coach in NFL history. Am I right? The second ever, I believe.
I think so.
And Denny had to sit there and listen to Sid rant about how he was told they were going to hire Pete Carroll. So he would be very happy to see Pete get the job. But I think running up, you know what we've discovered? When you don't really have great talent running up and down the sidelines, being a cheerleader doesn't really work. And that was Pete's number one strength, both at Southern Cal and with the Seahawks.
You know what the deal breaker is going to be when his agent's negotiating some sort of Fox TV contract and they get to the end of the contract and now your client is not allowed to chew gum on the TV set. Is that going to be a deal breaker problem?
He does enjoy that. That's for sure.
So you're all right.
No, he's got no chance.
All right, so you're covering LeBron and like three teammates who don't have COVID against the Timberwolves tonight, Pat. LeBron James, 37 years old. He's putting up like 25, 30 points a game, and he's once again doing it with, I don't know, a half-baked roster. That he, by the way, pushed for all these old guys to be teammates with him, and now he's battling to stay above 500. But Wolves versus LeBron.
They moved the game back too to 9-10, so I'm really more just writing a LeBron piece about. It's funny. I was looking back, man. The year there, and when he was a younger player, and he kind of quit in that series on the Cavs. He was pouting, and that. Remember, he had the moment where the kid dunked on him, and they went and ran around the video. Boy, has he matured into a very honorable figure in the NBA. There's no doubt about it. I also looked it up. Michael sat out for, 3 years, and then came back with Washington and was okay. But LeBron, when this season ended, will have played 300 more games than Michael Jordan. He started off, of course, as a 18-year-old kid. It's incredible that the amount of games he's played. I think his playoff games are almost 100. Assuming the Lakers have some playoff games, he will have played 100 more playoff games than Michael Jordan. Among all the things that are phenomenal about him, he's had a couple of injuries in the last few years, but his durability is unbelievable. I think he was 34 and he led the league in minutes. He's been incredible, and that to me would be a hard a harder body to keep flexible, right? I mean, he's a huge man, but 6'9", and he shows up and plays all the time, and pretty good guy as far as raising money for the youth of America too, and things like that. I was talking to Sam Mitchell last night, and he just was, some of the things we gave LeBron heat about, like the decision, which we all thought was just really over the top. I'd forgotten that he gave $5 million to the Boys and Girls Club off that deal. So,
isn't that amazing? That's there's like 3 borderline, like bad, weird things he's ever done in 20 years, and that's one of them. And he donated millions to charity.
Yeah, and it's hard to, with all the loose cannons that the NBA has, and certainly a guy like Durant, who's a fabulous player, and not that bad a guy, but I mean, much more sensitive about it. The guy's creating burner accounts and stuff on Twitter, and much more worried about those type of things than LeBron is. I think he kind of does his thing, and but it's a phenomenal. It's going to be a phenomenal thing what the league does when he. I mean, we take his presence as just a given, right? Every year, and this has been going on since '04. And what's it going to feel like when the league doesn't have him anymore? It's going to be a different place, that's for sure.
Well, how long did it take? I mean, Jordan retired in '98, then came back with the Wizards. Not the same player, but I feel like it took. I mean, Kobe was on the rise, but it took 5 or 6 years before then LeBron came in. So there's probably going to be a similar 4 or 5 year period where, all right, who wants it? I mean, Anthony Edwards might be. I mean, I know that it's far fetched because he plays for the Timberwolves, but but there's going to be an opening once LeBron retires for all right, who wants it? Who's going to be the person, not just the player, but the personality? Like Tim Duncan was the player, but he wasn't the personality, and then LeBron had to come in and be both.
Yeah, well, it was Jordan, and it was Magic and Bird, and then it was Jordan, and now it's this guy, and it is going to be interesting to see who's the It can't be Kyrie Irving because he's from another planet. I mean, guys like that. The league is full of those kind of guys that are really talented, but they can't carry the mantle of he shows up and fills the arena, right? So.
Pat, what do you think Anthony Edwards will do for a performance against LeBron James and the Lakers here this evening?
With the Lakers having, they got guys playing you never heard of. If they got 5 guys missing from COVID, and they're certainly old and not invincible for sure. I think the Wolves will probably show up and play pretty well tonight. They all of a sudden they were terrible. They were as bad as any basketball team I've ever seen when I saw them a week ago. And then they go out and beat Portland, who's not very good, but then they beat Denver bloody. So, I don't know. Maybe they're back. Maybe they found it again.
Yeah. All right.
And when Edwards makes, what was it, 8 threes or 10? 10 threes?
10. It was 10, and they're up by 20, and he's just pulling up from like 30 feet on the backups.
Yeah, he couldn't do that last week when I went to write this ode to him as being this character and this great personality. Then he goes out and he's a minus 32 against Cleveland. By the way, you see Cleveland? They keep beating the hell out of everybody. They're good.
Mm-hmm. I know. Did you see though? So the Timberwolves starting 5. So the 3 main guys, and then Vanderbilt and Pat Beverly when they're healthy. So I haven't compared this to the entire rest of the league, but the Timberwolves starting 5 per 100 possessions is a plus 50 points on average per 100 possessions. The Warriors starting 5 is a plus 8. Now the Warriors have a much deeper team and they have better combinations once you get past those 5. But it's legitimately one of the best 5-player combinations in the entire league. They just can't be on the court together because they're always hurt.
Are we going to have to and this will be hard for me because I think he's a nut job, but are we going to have to admit that they're better when D'Lo plays? They're a hell of a lot better, and that he's an asset, not a liability. And for $30 billion, he probably should be. But I think we love to pick on him because he didn't guard anybody. But he's even trying to guard somebody. He's not real good at it. But they need him. They were awful when he didn't play. They need him. That's for sure.
Yep. No, he's definitely. I mean, he has.
We don't even call him No D'Lo anymore, like we were calling him last year. So. And they need his shooting too. They need him to make some. You know who's terrible? Beasley. He's giving them nothing, and they're paying him $60 million contract. Yeah. That was an idiotic thing to do.
He can shoot, but I think he's your classic 18 points per game on a losing team guy, right?
Yep. And when he has to make shots for you down the stretch, he has not been making them. He's 3 for 9 usually on his threes, right? If he's going to come off the bench and make that kind of money, he's got to shoot 40% on his threes, or damn near 40%, doesn't he? And he's not close to that, I don't think. So.
No.
Plus,
all right.
Plus, I still don't trust him.
Well, what do you mean? The parade of homes. I think he's. I think he's just a greeter. He's just a greeter. Welcome to my neighborhood, everybody.
Yeah, that was probably of all the goofy things Gerson did, and he did some really good things. Was as far as on the court was signing this guy, giving that guy the contract. I couldn't figure that one out. There's another guy. It's too bad. They also have the problem with teams not guarding Vanderbilt, which can make things difficult for Cat. We'll see how that's handled in the long run. But Vanderbilt can't make a shot, which kind of hurts them a little bit. But they got to have him out there defend and play rebound. They need one more big man. They need a center, but.
Yeah,
so
if they could somehow get like a Miles Turner or somebody, it would be without giving up anything of substance. But that's not how it always works.
No, it's not. You see who their big scorer is for the Iowa Wolves? Canyon Barry.
Oh, really?
Rick Barry's grandson, I believe it is.
Is he shooting underhand free throws?
I don't know, but he'd be smart if he is. The old man only made about 93%. People might have laughed at him, but they all went in.
Yeah, I can't believe no one. They tried to get Shaq to do that in like the late 90s or early 2000s. He's like, no, I'd rather shoot 32%, but look like a man.
Yes, that's exactly right. They would. Wilt tried it for a while, and then I think he lost his dignity and wouldn't do it anymore. Would always come out. And, when he came out, it was for a 3 free throw contest, and he would shoot them underhand and beat me every time.
Yeah, but he looked like a wuss.
Would shoot, even in 1959 in Fulda, I would shoot him underhand, So I had to have my dignity, too, even though I only made 65%.
Well, when Wilt Chamberlain started shooting underhanded free throws and getting rejected by women at the club after those games, he's like, all right, no, I'm
yeah, right. That's true. That's true. You might be 7'1" and have big feet, but I don't want anything to do with you because you shoot your free throws underhand. I don't want anything to do with you. So.
Oh, amazing. All right, Pat, we'll talk next week.
All right, gentlemen. See you.
All right, that's Rapping with Royce here. Mackey and Judd in the Score North YouTube.